So we're ready to go. Hockey in the Carrier Dome. You heard it right. The Toyota Frozen Dome Classic is ready to go. 30,000 making noise and coming to their feet. We've got pro hockey in Syracuse at the iconic Carrier Dome. Mike Angelidis will take the opening draw. The Crunch captain, his 5th year with the Lightning organization. He's sporting the mustache. Movember, a theme in Syracuse for not only the Crunch, but also the Syracuse University basketball team. Jim Boeheim, none other, is the coach, honorary coach of that Movember initiative. Here we go. Hockey in the Carrier Dome is here, underway. And Syracuse into the offensive zone. They've got the blue jerseys with orange trim, white numbers. The Utica Comets, they're on the road. They've got the whites with blue numbers. And the puck into the offensive zone for the Crunch. The Crunch, remember, have really been playing well. They had 6 wins in their last 8 until losing in Adirondack last night against the Calgary Flames affiliate. 4-1 was the final. Utica starting oh so hot, 12 wins in their first 17 games, but they lost to Rochester yesterday, allowed 7 goals to the Emirates. So, Jonathan Marchessault is one of the team leaders, not only wearing an A these days, but also what he's been doing points-wise. And he has led his team in scoring in each of the last few years. Started with the Connecticut Whale, now the Hartford Wolfpack, the Rangers organization. Last 2 seasons with the Springfield Falcons, the Columbus Blue Jackets affiliate. But the Crunch acquired Heat and Dalton Smith in the trade last year. And they are 2 of the top performers for the Crunch. So it's Dan Duva along with Mike Ross. Thanks for joining us for the Toyota Frozen Dome Classic. Jake Dotchin, one of 3 rookie defensemen for the Crunch. Dylan Bugis and Slater Cuckoo are the others, but right now it's Matt Parente, Dotchin's defensive partner. He sends it deep. Marchessault, Vermeen, and Kunitz give chase. Anderson trying to work it along the near wall. He got it out to center for the Comets, who last year faced the Crunch 4 times, and only once in those 4 did the game get decided in regulation. Perhaps most memorable, April 5th, when the Crunch trailed by 3 goals. Mike, they scored 3 times in the last 2 minutes of the game and won it in overtime. In front, Phil Paradis alongside Tanner Richard. Yanni Gourde now in the circle, picked up by Paradis. Looks to the middle, quick shot, caught the glass. Joachim Eriksson, the goaltender tonight for Utica, played in each of those 4 games last year. Jacob Markstrom, who happens to be from the same hometown, Galway, Sweden, is backing up tonight. Both of these teams have been switching their goalies. Tonight it's Andrei Vasilevsky, the rookie from Russia for Syracuse. Mike, Andrei Vasilevsky, a first-round pick. All the hype is there, and one of the top players at his position ever to come from Russia.
One of the things that would concern me, though, with him, it's great depth for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but Ben Bishop is a guy that a lot of hockey people have been waiting on for a long time. Did not get his opportunity in St. Louis, didn't get it really in Ottawa, is getting it and really making the most of it in Tampa Bay. So there may be a little bit of a wait for Andre.
And Ben Bishop last year, who was part of the trade. Corey Conacher was dealt. Conacher was part of the Crunch a couple of years ago. Had won a Calder Cup in Norfolk as the puck squirts in front. Anderson keeps it to wall. And pressure from Sampson forcing it out to the neutral zone. Last year, not only did we see Ben Bishop play well, but even Anders Lindback competing for that spot. Bishop stole the show. And this year, Nabokov backing up Bishop, and Lindback moving on to the Stars organization. There's Luke Witkowski in his 2nd-year pro from Western Michigan. So, neutral zone draw. That starting line is out for the Crunch. Ronald Kennis from Latvia, punching in at Crunch goalie Kristers Godlewskis. Talk about goaltending. What a surprise he was against Canada in the Olympics last year. Godlewski's backing up Vasilevsky tonight. Comets rush out to center. Kennis on the wing, score! Alex Friesen, 2nd year with the Canucks organization. And he puts Utica on top, 1-0. Just 3 minutes into the game.
Just a great setup here. It's going to be slow ice today, so you've got to take advantage of any turnovers or any chances you've got some open ice. And that's exactly what Utica did there. The puck is going to bounce around a little bit.
Friesen second goal. Well, we know that name Friesen, of course. Folks in the NHL will too. Meanwhile, hitting the neutral zone. Crowd likes that. Pushing back and forth. Cody Kunik and J.P. Cote for the Crunch. J.P. Cote, whose dad, Alain Cote, longtime Quebec Nordique. Comets come back into the zone, but it's offside. I think we might have a hard time hearing the whistle in the Carrier Dome tonight.
Could very well be. Speaking to Eric Nielsen this morning, just a handful of Crunch players skating. He said that the ice has improved over the last couple of days. He said that he was expecting a bit of a slower pace just because the puck was not going to be moving as well. And he noticed that the players were having difficulty pushing off when they were trying to skate really hard, so be watchful for that.
The Crunch have been an energetic team of late, and part of it has been because of a lineup shake from Rob Zettler. Dalton Smith was put onto a line. Mike Angelidis, Henry Ikonen along with him, and Dalton Smith actually tried out Mike Angelidis' stick, went on to score 6 goals in just a few games, having never recorded a multi-point performance in his pro career, 140-plus games. And then he did it 3 times in a row, just by changing his stick and increased energy. Side of the net, Richard trying to sneak it in front. Comets bring it back toward the neutral zone. Luke Witkowski on defense. He'll start it ahead for the Crunch. And Matt Corrente, first year with Lightning organization, last year with the Carolina Hurricanes in Charlotte, North Carolina, with the Checkers in the AHL, but before that was with the Devils, first rounder for the Devils. Crunch on the heels a bit here. Corrente trying to work it along the wall for the Crunch. And Samson, in his first year with Syracuse too, had trouble getting it out to center. That was one of the issues for the Crunch last night, losing to the Adirondack Flames 4-1. Like it was just a matter of that clean puck movement coming into the offensive zone, breaking out cleanly. Henry Ikonen starts it out to center. And he gains the orange line. Yes, the orange line, but not cleanly across the blue line. It is orange, believe it or not. The Crunch sought approval from the American Hockey League. The center line is indeed orange. Well, the mix of Utica and Syracuse fans, no doubt, is here. A rivalry is budding.
It absolutely is, and so much of the game is made on its great geographic rivals, whether it's the National Hockey League or the American League, and you're seeing that now with these two teams going head-to-head in just a monster game here.
Well, no doubt that plenty of Comets fans used to be Crunch fans. It's been 20 years since the Utica Devils left town, and there was no pro hockey in Utica. The building is the same, the affiliate is new, and they've used the nickname Comets, paying homage to the Mohawk Valley Comets, the Clinton Comets, previous incarnations of pro hockey in Utica. But it's the Canucks affiliate, and so their prospects out here. Believe it or not, Utica is in the Western Conference. Syracuse is in the Eastern Conference, despite one team actually being east of the other. Side of the net, Vasilevsky hugging the post. And the Crunch with Ikonen looking for Smith, who took it off the wall, but a bit behind him. You can see that the ice not quite as predictable as it might have been in other places. Ikonen on the forecheck creates a turnover. Dotchin for the Crunch, sends it on down. Ikonen to the corner. Pitchforked along by DeFazio. Look out, here's a chance behind the defense. Grenier stuffed, but a penalty. Touched up. And Alexander Grenier, third year with the Canucks organization from Laval, Quebec, keeping behind the defense. Comets have taken the early lead, 1-0. 6.5 minutes into the first pro hockey game in Carrier Dome history. Friesen, second of the year. Comets on top 1-0 at the Carrier Dome. Nikita Nesterov sits for 2 minutes for the Crunch. Second-year defenseman from Russia called for a hook. And so the Crunch will be down a man for 2 minutes. Meanwhile, high above ringside, we welcome in one of the all-time NHL greats. He was introduced on the ice before the game at the Carrier Dome. 6-time Stanley Cup champion, Glenn Anderson. Glenn, welcome. How are you?
Awesome. Great to be here. What a great atmosphere.
This is remarkable. It's, of course, a record-breaking event. Walking out on the ice, what were your thoughts and impressions?
Well, talking to Derek Coleman was quite interesting because he says that this is what he played in front of every night when he played basketball here, and it was just a great thrill to meet him and see the fans and how they support all sports up here in Syracuse. It's great to see, and I'm really happy for the support that they do have here in this town.
When I go back to the Heritage Classic in Edmonton, a little bit more comfortable here. Not as many elements to deal with on this ice.
Yeah, I mean, the ice looked pretty good, and you know, playing in Edmonton the first outdoor game up there, I think we had about 60,000 people, and it was minus 26, I believe, and we were really, really cold. But they had heaters on the bench, and the ice was cracking quite a bit, but that's because we were out of shape and a little heavier than we used to be.
Yeah, Gord almost with a chance shorthanded for the Crunch as the Comets come in still on the power play. It's fun to watch here, Glenn. The folks bundled up as though this were an outdoor game, and kind of like at Madison Square Garden, rising up as the moment comes. Madison Square Garden, the Stanley Cup in '94, hockey coming back to New York State in the way that it did. Another shorthanded chance for the Crunch. And a whistle and pushing and shoving. The pace of this game is getting the crowd riled up. Madison Square Garden, Carrier Dome, how do they compare?
I mean, it's tough to compare. I'd love to come back here and see a college game, you know, whether it be football or basketball. I've heard so many great stories, and just the passion that the people talk about when they come here and how dedicated the school is to their sports teams is absolutely incredible. And I mean, what a great little atmosphere for this and putting this all together. Hats off to the owners and the Crunch for coming out here and doing such a great event.
And just a short few days ago, it was the Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony. You're a Hall of Famer. It took a little while, but it got done, and there were a lot of fans that were pushing for that for a long time. A lot of fans were pushing for Pat Burns to get in there. That finally happened. When that ceremony comes around every year, now that you're in, does it sort of just all come flashing back to you, the phone call that you got saying that you were in, and some of the highlights of your career?
Well, I mean, it's kind of the pinnacle of a career. If whenever you're inducted into any Hall of Fame, it just kind of proves the point that what you've accomplished is really worthwhile at the end of the day. And I think that's the key thing is that, especially as an athlete, if you get into any Hall of Fame, whether it be football, basketball, hockey, it really proves to a point that you're part of an elite group, and it makes you humbled and honored in the same breath, and just being part of that is so special and so unique.
Glenn Anderson, our guest here in the booth. And Glenn, I know that you have Pat Verbeek here in the building, but the prospects Pat Verbeek is working with this organization. American Hockey League is about as good as it gets short of the NHL.
It definitely is. I mean, he's part of Stevie Eiserman's crew there, and they're doing a great job down in Tampa. And you're going to see a couple of these guys come up in the near future, and it's good to see the young guys, the way they react and develop. And you know, anytime as talented as a player you are, you have to go through the grind, and this is part of the stepping stone to getting into the NHL.
And so many have come up from both the Lightning and the Canucks organizations through these cities in the last couple of years. And there's a star of the future, and Andrei Vasilevsky, and a guy you've probably played against in Rob Zeller.
Yeah, absolutely. And so was Pat, so it was great.
Glenn Anderson, Hockey Hall of Famer and six-time Stanley Cup champion. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Glenn Anderson, who was with the Edmonton Oilers for 5 Stanley Cups, but I think a lot of folks here in the building tonight will most remember him for what he did with the New York Rangers in 1994. Syracuse has killed the penalty. Nesterov took the minor for hooking, but it may have broken up a potential score for the Comets. So when they come, Blue Jays on defense with Perende. Vasilevsky seals up a shot from the right wing. Shinkarik, who might have had that opportunity if not for Nesterov so earlier. Good eye right there.
Been interesting to watch Utica really challenging from all parts of the ice, inside, outside, perimeter shots. Basically because you don't know what the ice is going to offer you. You really don't know. The boards are going to be offering up different bounces that they're not used to at the War Memorial versus here. They haven't had a ton of time to be on the ice trying it out, so they're going to take their chances here and see what kind of opportunities they might be able to muster using the boards and the ice here today.
Grenier against Richard in the circle. What is to our left, on the left of the goalie, as the puck goes up and into the crowd. And it feels more like a baseball game when the puck goes into the crowd, the way it's laid out here. Well, the temperature inside is much warmer than it is outside. 44 degrees. The irony there, unbelievable. But the temperature on the ice, I'm sure, is hot. The rivalry last year, the intensity, not only between the players, but even the fans. Syracuse and Utica, not even an hour away on the thruway.
And you know that it steps up in a game like this because it's such an event. We were talking to Coach Zettler. I spoke to Howard Dolgan and Mike Angelidis earlier this week, and you just sense the excitement, the anticipation that they had for this event. It's not just another 2 points out there for them. It's an event, and they want to win this.
Right now, it's a 1-0 lead for the Comets. Alex Friesen had the lone goal 3.5 minutes in. Well, the Crunch gave up a goal 13 seconds into the game yesterday. They didn't tie it up until the end of the second period. The game before that, they scored 16 seconds in. So there's been some early scoring in Crunch games in the last week. Syracuse is trying to get on the winning side of those. Bukowski for the Crunch. Thought about a slapper, but it's blocked out of the zone. Dotchin finds Kevin Lynch out of the University of Michigan, signed to a PTO by the Crunch just last week. Scored his first American League goal just last week, too, in his second game. Peeling off. Lacey Hamilton forced to the outside. And now back out to the point for Travis Earhart. Dotchin will chase down the loose puck for the Crunch. Dotchin, Blugis, and Cuckoo, the three rookie defensemen. Meanwhile, in front, and a kick save, Vasilevsky. And the Crunch start back the other way. Hauled down. No call. Nesterov, who took the penalty earlier, gets it back out for the Crunch. And Earhart pivots backward. Important to note here that the penalty boxes are between the benches. You don't see that too many places any longer. Last night in Glens Falls, the Glens Falls Civic Center, they have an ice cutting machine entrance to separate the benches. But, Mike, what do you think is the impact of having the penalty boxes on the same side of the ice as the benches?
Well, I would say that when those minor penalties are done and you're changing on the fly, you've got a much shorter distance to go to get the change made. You're not coming from across the ice, so you might be able to get that change up a lot quicker than you normally would.
And the puck was played with a high stick, stopping action. 8:36 left in the first. Comets 1, Crunch nothing. One nothing. Comets lead the Crunch. Travis Green, the head coach of the Comets, joins us from downstairs. Coach, your thoughts on 30,000 plus here in the Carrier Dome so far?
Well, it's obviously pretty exciting in the building. Exciting for the area, exciting for our team and their team as well.
What kind of messages did you send to your team as far as using the boards, using the ice? A lot of unpredictability.
Well, there is. We talked about the boards. Maybe if you don't have a lane to the net, just shoot it off the backboards. And also the changes. As you can see, one of the gates is deep into our zone.
Travis Green, head coach of the Comets. Thanks. Best wishes.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Coming to this organization with the Canucks, bringing their AHL team to Utica. He's been part of the organization, but an interesting role, bringing pro hockey back to a city that hasn't had it for 20 years, and in a lot of ways, he's got to be the face of the team.
Yeah, and Robert Ashe has done a nice job there too. Spoke to him on my radio show on Sirius XM, and he really spoke highly about the business community stepping up, the hockey fans stepping up to support the team. And though there may have been a few doubters originally, people are on board, and he expects the franchise to be very successful, and the fans certainly have responded.
Well, Robert Ashe, who was, of course, a goaltender in his playing days, was the league executive of the year. Is nominated by Howard Dolgan, who has become a good friend. Point drive, sailed over. Vasilevsky was knocked down in front, and the Crunch can start back along. Dalton Smith fires it down. And it's interesting to see the repartee between the cities, the headlines of the newspaper, the comments on social media, and all the rest. And I think that Robert Ashe and Howard Dolgan learning how to use Twitter has made the rivalry all the more interesting. As the Comets look to add to the lead and stop Vasilevsky. Out for Alex Biega, who's forced to play it at center, and rink wide for Travis Earhart. Andrei Vasilevsky, 19th overall pick for the Lightning a couple years ago. Between the pipes, he's got special frozen dome gear. The pads and the helmet especially cool, with Otto the Orange on either side. Marchessault, rising shot, deflected away. Eriksson watching over the side of his cage. The Crunch have managed few opportunities in the offensive zone. Taylor Richard for the Crunch. Second-year center. Had it roll off his stick and turns it over. Look back in front by Grenier, and the Crunch come out of the zone. Parody racing to it, way out of his cage. Eriksson able to clear it out of the zone. A gamble.
A little bit, yeah. You don't see a lot of those anymore. Goaltenders tend to stick to their crease, learn their lessons.
Yanni Gourde is in. Stick to side. Another try on the backhand, spiked away. Out for Corrente. Arister knocked down again. Comets stepping in the way of several Syracuse shots toward the goal. Neutral zone battle won by the Comets. And the puck to the corner. Corrente and Lynch throwing their weight around for Syracuse as Slater Cuckoo starts the breakout for the Crunch. And Yanni Gourde bounces it down the ice. Sampson goes after it, but the Comets will turn it back out to the neutral zone. And it goes slowly out into the Crunch end. And I think the crowd's starting to get a little bit more lively. And when back and forth hockey takes place, the crowd tends to get into it more and more, almost like a European soccer match. Cote spins it across the net now, so Kuna can turn it back out for the Crunch. Sampson flings it on down, and the Crunch need a change. Cote and Witkowski stay on defensively. Here comes Shinkarik. Witkowski comes back, and the Crunch try to turn it into an odd man break. Here's Lynch just flipping it down. Bill Chase. Marchessault goes after it. Lynch in the trapezoid, checked off the puck. Blue just pinching, knocked to the side of the cage, just wide of the right post. Lynch at the half wall. And a trickling puck at the blue line. Lynch trying to keep it in, filling in. He did momentarily, but the Comets will feel some pressure from Witkowski. Blue takes his man down. Henrik Tamarnes dealing with Witkowski, and the Crunch keep it alive. Now Tamarnes using the glass, stopped by the skate of Nesterov. On goal and right across. And the Crunch battling to keep the puck in the zone. It was Cody Kulik yesterday battling along the half wall that led to a Luke Witkowski point shot and a goal. Luke's first of the year, and the puck squirts through. There's the hard work. It's Marchessault, and the Crunch have tied it with 4 minutes to go in the first.
If you're going to give an assist on that one, Witkowski's got to get one. He kept that play alive in that offensive zone for Syracuse, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And put it on goal. You don't know what's going to happen. It's exactly what Travis Green talked about. If you don't have an open lane, put it towards the net. You don't know how the ice is going to react. You don't know how the player's skates are going to react to the ice. And Syracuse ties it up.
Marchessault and Vermeen right there. Vermeen shot it. Marchessault may have gotten a piece. Let's see how they score. They'll give it to Joel Vermeen. And the Crunch have tied it. 5th of the year for Vermeen. When we return, we'll... There he is, February 20th, 2010 at the Mirabito Outdoor Classic, John Nasty Morasti. And he joins us here on the broadcast tonight. John, welcome. And when you watch this video, you remember the outdoor game in 2010. What comes to mind?
This is a reminder right here. You know, it was a great show, and it was a great honor to be part of.
What is this event compared to the one in 2010 say about the hockey fan in Syracuse?
Syracuse was a great place to play. You know, I really enjoyed it. Fans were second to none. You know, and a little bit warmer here than it was when it was at that night.
Well, no doubt that the Crunch fans have supported this team. Howard Dolgan has done so many creative things. He even got you and Kanopka to do the Mohawk, and he did the Mohawk. How did you convince Howard Dolgan to do the Mohawk?
You know, Z's a real good leader. He really pushed us for that one, and you know, unfortunately, here we got some action going here, but
I'm sure you want to jump into this, don't you, John?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, Howard's a great businessman. You know, he's a great owner. He really supported me the years that I was here, and I really enjoyed it. You know, so I owe a lot to him.
You've played more than a decade's worth of professional hockey. What does your time with the Crunch mean to you, and not only your professional career, but just who you are?
It was one of the highlights of my career. You know, I was treated like a really good person here. I really enjoyed it, and you know, I made family here. You know, the team, I still keep in touch with the team. It's a really great place to play hockey and a great place to live.
John, we've noticed the intensity is ramping up, not only in the stands, but now on the ice. Tell me a little bit about the emotion that's involved in a game like this, because it's not just a regular 2 points. There's so much build up to it. There's so much emotion. Talk to us about it from your standpoint, the role that you played.
Yeah, you know, those young kids out there, you know, they know they have something to prove, and you know, with the big show like this, you really want to win, so there's a lot of pressure on them. On the other hand, it's a great experience, you know, a big crowd like this. You know, for me, when I played, I just wanted to get the momentum for my team and do whatever it took to help win. You know, whether it be a big fight or a big hit, you know, and just happened to be in the outdoor game where I waited about a minute and a half, and me and my good friend Jeremy Yavlovsky put the show on.
You mentioned that good friend, and the Crunch fans these days, they love watching Eric Nielsen drop the gloves, and we see whether it's Nolan Yonkman, who we saw last night. They had been teammates in San Antonio. How do you put into words the kind of respect that you guys have that I don't know if it's dissipating in pro hockey now, but maybe not what it was?
Yeah, you know, it's dying out, obviously, but you know, guys like us, you know, we play for the logo in our jersey. Once the buzzer goes, we're enemies, so we want to do whatever it takes to help our team win, and whether it be protecting a guy or getting momentum, you know, we're out there to do the job for the team that we're playing for.
Maybe get a beverage afterwards.
Oh, definitely.
Well, I was just going to ask, because that is the myth, right? I mean, we hear that all the time. You guys are enemies on the ice, but you get a pop afterwards. Is that true? I mean, do you have that type of relationship with guys on other teams?
Oh, definitely. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that, you know, that we don't like each other, and of course it's a lot more heated rival. But you know, there's no show out there. It's pure business, and we're out there to help our teams win and entertain, and you know, and create protection for the teams. And it's kind of sad because it's slowly dying out of the league now. I should say all leagues. So it's a sad fade, but it's part of the progression of hockey, and it's, you know, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to play when it was a tough game.
Here's Nestorov with the Crunch on the power play for the first time. Nestorov's trigger pull, but blocked away. And they pursue in the corner. John Morasti is our guest. As another whistle blows, it looks like we've got another couple penalties. It was Travis Earhart with the extra minor. That was the one that created the whole spillover moments ago. Columbus Blue Jackets was the affiliate, then Anaheim, and now it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. Put us in the heads of these prospects, knowing this kind of stage, wanting to get to that next level. This experience, looking at the future, are these guys thinking about tonight, or are they also thinking about, wow, this is what it could be like to reach the NHL?
Oh, definitely. You know, there's a lot of eyes on them right now to see how they handle this pressure, because this is a big crowd, you know. it takes a lot to win in this kind of building, in this kind of atmosphere. So it's a big game for them all, and it gives them a taste of what the NHL is going to be like. So, hopefully these young prosper.
John, do you have a couple of fights that you remember the most in your time with the Crunch?
I just love playing for the team, playing for the fans, and the one year that Zen and Konopka and I, we led the boys to a big winning streak, and that was probably the funnest year of hockey. We had the barn sold out in warm-up because we didn't, there was anticipation that something was going to happen, and it was a great year and a great experience for myself.
Marchessault took the minor for slashing, wiping out the Crunch power play. So 4-on-4 hockey for another 50 seconds here, and then there will be a brief power play for Utica. While you were here in Syracuse, did you get to come up to the Carrier Dome much at all?
Yeah, I had a good friend, Tom Sanchuri, who's a big sponsor of the team. He owns a lot of Dunkin' Donuts in town here, and he was always bringing me out to the football games, the basketball games. It was a great experience, a great atmosphere to play in, and it's nice to see a hockey rink in here now.
It's just incredible to look around. It's never been here before, and 30,000 plus. Can't wait to hear the final attendance numbers.
Yeah, they're making history.
John Morasti is our guest, one of the fan favorites in Crunch history. 4-on-4 continuing here for another dozen seconds. Crunch on the prowl. Nestorov settles it, led the team with shots on goal in the loss in Adirondack last night. And a shot from Nestorov sailing high. Trent Cole remarked after the game, ooh, look out, there's a penalty. Down goes with Biega right there. Tanner Richard was knocked down, and some more fisticuffs. Let's take another look at this. Richard, Biega.
Had the numbers all the way. Followed through on it. What do you think when you see a play like that, John?
It fires you up, but on the other hand, I think the NHL and all these leagues are starting to teach guys to turn their back to the plays. And I 5 years ago, I don't think guys would be turning their backs that fast. But it's part of the game now, and it's just something you do, and you got to throw the body.
Tell me about the split-second timing involved in a play like that for the guy delivering the hit, because these guys see an open body for a hit. Suddenly, you see the numbers. Is it that hard to stop?
It's a tough decision, because once you commit yourself, I mean, your momentum's going. You're a big boy, and you're moving at a fast pace, so it is hard. So I feel for some of these guys when they do make some hits, and it's not intentional. They're just trying to finish their check, like we've been taught our whole life. So it's a pretty big debate.
Right now, as they assess the penalty, which will bring us to another Crunch power play in a little bit. One penalty runs off, another one is added, so it's 4-on-4 for 35 seconds, and then the Crunch will begin a power play. You see Rob Zettler directing traffic as the officials work on the ice in the crease. How was the ice at the Moravito Outdoor Classic?
It looked like they did a good job. It's a warm building here, and you're playing on a football field. So, when I was out down there walking on the ice, it looked like they did a pretty good job.
Amazing that this ice could be put in here in just a week. They started with the Syracuse basketball game Sunday, doubleheader, the men's and women's team, and they started at midnight. And here it is, not even a full week later, and they've made it happen.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of staff to thank for that. It's a big job to do.
So you're on the ice with your buddies Zen and Konopka, but there's also Pat Verbeek and Glenn Anderson out there, along with Derek Coleman and Joe Morris. But how about being out there with two of the top NHL players of the last few decades?
Oh, it was awesome. Earlier Z and I were joking around that we had a lot of goals and a lot of penalty minutes and a lot of fights sitting together. So it was quite funny.
Well, the Crunch with 4-on-4 in the final couple of minutes. 60 seconds to go here in the first period. Comets trying to extend what was a pretty good showing in the early going. John Morasti, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming back. It's great talking to you.
Thank you.
John Morasti, third most penalty minutes in Crunch history. And boy, when he dropped the gloves, you couldn't turn away. Now a Crunch power play in the final half minute of the first period. Utica had a 1-0 lead. Friesen did the damage. Crunch tied it up. Joel Vermeen at the moment is given credit, but it may have gone off Jonathan Marchessault. Either way, the Crunch had tied it. And then at the side of the net, no shot on goal. Crunch have managed 5 shots, Utica 6. Andrei Vasilevsky opposing Joachim Eriksson. Vasilevsky in his first pro season, and Eriksson in his second here in North America. Nesterov off the heel of the stick and out of the zone, and that'll do it for the first period.
You mean that's it? We're already through 20 minutes. Are you kidding?
Aren't we lucky? We get to do a little bit more hockey playing as we chat about this incredible event and what has started out to be a pretty good contest. Nice and tight. Comets in Crunch tied at 1. Time Warner Cable Sports Channel's coverage of Syracuse Crunch hockey is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by FX Cabrera Chevrolet Buick in Pulaski. Visit fxchevy.com. High above ringside here at the Carrier Dome. It's the Toyota Frozen Dome Classic. Moments from starting the second period. But first, we check in with Onondaga County Executive Joni Mahoney. Joni, wow. I mean, this is off the charts. I mean, when Howard said we're going to try to play a game in the Dome, did you think it would be quite this big?
You know what? I did, because Howard said it. I would not, before I went to work with Howard Dolgan, have believed that somebody could pull something like this off. But I was with him for the outdoor game. I was with him through the Calder Cup and all the parties we put on at the Everson. And, you know, my attitude with Howard is, thank goodness we have somebody like Howard who wants to put something like this on, and we get out of the way and let it happen, and this whole community benefits.
Well, it just shows the partnership between a pro hockey team, the university, a major facility, the county, the city. What did this take in terms of cooperation to make it happen?
It really did take a lot. Pete Sala here at the Carrier Dome, Syracuse University as a whole has been tremendously supportive. Howard Dolgan, though, is really the key. Jim Sorosi, Vance, the Crunch organization knows how to do big events. They know how to market. They know how to fill this place. The notion that we're going to set a professional hockey game attendance record here in Syracuse, New York, only Howard.
It puts it on the map for Syracuse, and there's so many great things in this city, in this area. But what does this do? All eyes are on Syracuse today.
I know, and as Howard has been telling everybody, pound for pound, the best sports city in America, and he's really helping us brand that, and I think we're known that way across the country. And things like this, where people are going to be watching this game all across the country on the NHL Network tomorrow after your broadcast, right? This is fantastic for us in Syracuse.
Oh, it's been so much fun. County Executive Joni Mahoney, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
As we begin the second period of play, it's 4-on-4 hockey. Power play for the Crunch following that 4-on-4 as Syracuse tries to take that lead. So the Crunch, who had fallen behind 1-0, tied it up. Joel Vermeen given credit for his 5th of the year, and even the score 1-1. Well, Mike, thoughts on what we saw in the first period? Maybe just settling in a little bit?
I think there had to be a bit of a feeling out process. You're getting to know the ice, you're getting to know the boards, and you're getting to know the opponent just a little bit more. And as we saw early, it was a pretty dominant start by Utica, but Syracuse reacted well in the second half of that first period.
Score! There's a reaction, and listen to this crowd. Syracuse takes the lead 2-1. Just 49 seconds into the second period.
And the 29th ranked power play in the league strikes. Good puck distribution here, but you know what? It's what we talked about earlier. Travis Green indicated it. Put the puck on net. There aren't going to be a ton of shooting lanes available. And we tell kids, right, from the earliest of ages, put the puck on the net. You don't know what's going to happen. Well, guess what? It works at the pros, too.
Yanni Gourde, his 8th goal of the season. He had 7 goals in 6 games. He didn't have any points yesterday, which snapped his scoring streak, but he has been hot. Jonathan Marchessault was the man who shot that puck. And Marchessault had an 8-game scoring streak, but was scoreless yesterday. He's got the primary assist. Gourde tipping in the shot from Jonathan Marchessault, and Nikita Nesterov against the secondary assist. So the Crunch take the lead with a power play goal. And a tough angle shot from right around the net mouth, but Kennis couldn't quite get it through, and the whistle blows. Well, the power play, though, the Crunch, in terms of season-long statistics, not impressive. However, The Crunch had been 3 for 9 over the course of 3 games, 1 for 3 in 3 consecutive games. Rob Zetley says, hey, I'll take 33% any day of the week. The reality is the season-long numbers aren't quite as impressive. There were some games where the Crunch were piling up the penalty minutes and we're going 0 for 9, and there were like 20-second power plays, and that hurt the statistics.
You know, one of the highlights of the Stanley Cup playoffs last year was Daryl Sutter constantly telling us there's no such thing as momentum in sports. I beg to differ. Momentum plays a role in almost anything we do, and hey, Syracuse is proving it with their power play performance over the last few games.
The Crunch penalty kill had also been doing very well until last night. They ran into the Adirondack Flames, who have the 3rd most power play goals in the league. They scored their 19th and 20th against the Crunch so far, but the only special teams goal belongs to Syracuse. And another try blocked down in front. And out to the neutral zone, Hunter Shinkarik. Calgary native, getting it deep. Cote back for the Crunch. And Cody Kunik out of Alaska Fairbanks. He made his pro debut with the Tampa Bay Lightning 1 game last year. The centerman who's playing his first full professional season in Syracuse.
You know, one of the strengths that Utica showed in that first period was their ability to transition from defense to offense. And that's something that you're going to see a lot of teams talk about, how team defense is important because it leads to the offense. If they can get the puck cleanly out of their zone and do it quickly, the chances of making a mistake in their own zone, coughing up the puck in their own zone, and giving up scoring opportunities to the opposition drop dramatically. And you're seeing that now. Syracuse is starting to clear the puck out of their zone with a little bit more ease.
Well, during their 8-game point streak, when they won 6 out of 8, they just clicked. The breakouts were smooth. The little things were not mistakes. They were strong points. Bouchard, along with Gord and Paradis, has been one of the reasons for the energy. The Crunch had a major comeback against the Norfolk Admirals. They trailed 4-1. They came back, and that line was a big part of it. Yanni Gord and Dalton Smith each scoring a couple of goals in the midst of that comeback. Those guys were hot, and Yanni Gord, here in the month of November, has been off the charts. Now 8 goals in the last 8 games. Trying to push his way through. The Comets regroup. Negrin starts it towards the neutral zone. And here come the Comets. Brendan Gaunce shot it wide. Vasilevsky tries to seal it up. It's still loose. And defended well by Yanni Gord. Lacey Hamilton wasn't sure if he'd try to stuck it in the right post or come around to the left. Gord with Banks. Blue just there for the Crunch, number 6. Hamilton still trying to pry it free. Look at Macarente. Yeah, he's willing to just push anybody right down to the ice. He's about as tough as they come. He's earned the nickname Rambo from some of his former teammates. Sprawling effort. Parente in the shooting lane that time and forced it wide. Kept in the zone by Negrin, a Vancouver native. Played in the WHL for the Kootenay Ice. 4 minutes into the second period, and the Crunch have taken the lead. Power play goal for the Crunch, the difference.
And good now to get a bit of a breather. They were fighting for that puck along the boards. I think a lot of people think, well, they're not moving. There's not a lot of energy being expended there. There's a ton. The upper body workout that's going on there, trying to push your opponent off, trying to keep them away from the puck. You're moving the legs, trying to kick the puck. Some people are trying to hold the puck. That's a tough play there. So they get the chance now to head to the bench and get a bit of a breather, get some fresh legs out there.
Shots right now favor the Comets 9-8. It has been close. The Crunch with the power play goal. Gord, his 8th from Marchessault and Nesterov. In the neutral zone. The battles waged there so often determine the outcomes of battles won. Now the Crunch come in. Marchessault tried to drop it off over on the wing for Lynch. Lynch back to his own end with Bluges, and the Crunch will settle it down. Here's Parente. Crunch send it on in, and that has been the strategy. This time it rims around too strong. Look out. Into the zone they come. It's Jensen. And he caught the glass. Marchessault needing some help on the wall. And Fazio applied the pressure, and now the Comets can regroup. Witkowski cuts it off, and from the orange line flips it on goal. Tom Hernandez in the defensive zone. And here come the Comets offside. And a neutral zone draw coming up. Cal O'Reilly last year, when Anders Lindback was briefly playing for the Syracuse Crunch on a conditioning assignment, Cal actually came to Syracuse and spent some time with Anders. They had been teammates in Nashville. So many players that are in this contest have reached the NHL. Some are on the precipice of reaching the National Hockey League. Just go up and down the Crunch rosters. Who's been in the NHL just this season? Jonathan Marchessault is one, getting his first taste with Tampa Bay. This time it's Travis Earhart having his shot turned away from the net mouth. This goes to show, and now a whistle. We've got a penalty coming up here, it looks like. Mike Angelidis, the Crunch captain, who has played in 3 different cities in the American Hockey League: Albany, Norfolk, and Syracuse.
And this is the type of play that we were talking about with John Morassi, where Angelidis is going in there to try and make a play with the player who's got the puck. Unfortunately, makes a turn, makes a turn at that last second, and you heard Morassi talk about how difficult it is to put the brakes on yourself when you've committed to make that hit.
So another power play. This time it's for the Comets. And Yanni Gourde, who created some good shorthanded chances earlier in this game, is at the very least killing some seconds from the penalty clock. Crunch allowed 2 power play goals on just 3 Adirondack Flame chances yesterday. Alexander Grenier into the zone and played down the wall by Jensen. 6 goals on the season for Jensen, second most on the team. Tom Hernandez back in the neutral zone. Forecheck from Phil Paradis. Hard to miss him with that long flow. Centering try, cut off beautifully. That's just positioning for the Crunch. Down to 1:10 on the power play for Utica. Alex Friesen, who scored the goal earlier, tries to work it back to the points. Kennings in the circle, looks over his options and decides to go back for Biega. Walking the blue line, Kennings, tip pass. Comets regroup on the wing. Gourde and Nesterov for the Crunch on the near side, and it's Ikonen getting it out to the neutral zone. Biega turns it back ahead, tied up. Marchessault is the man who got in his way. There is no penalty call. Crunch back in, and the shot stopped by Eriksson.
Got lucky on that one a little bit there. May have avoided a little bit of penalty trouble there. Shot here from the outside. And that's exactly what the Crunch has got to start doing. They got to try it from different spots on the ice. Not look for the perfect pass, not look for the perfect play. They got to take their opportunities here and get some more rubber here on net.
15 seconds left on the power play for the Comets. And Earhart starts it out to the neutral zone, just as quickly cut off by the Crunch. That's just about going to do it. More than 30,000 in the Carrier Dome for the Crunch and the Comets. The Toyota Frozen Dome Classic. Rick Witkowski for the Crunch out of Western Michigan. He battles at the side of the net for the Crunch. We're back to 5 aside. Corrente up the wall toward Crunch captain Angelidis. He sends it on down. And though Mike is from just outside Toronto, he's quite proud of his Macedonian heritage. Just ask Eric Nielsen, who gave him the nickname Mad Macedonian Angelidis. A totally affectionate name, of course. There's a drive that's kicked aside by Eriksson. Slater Cuckoo pulling the trigger. And boy, his stock is high. He's another first rounder out of the Tampa Bay organization. This is his first year pro. Jonathan Drouin, of course, getting his chance in the NHL this year at just 19 years of age. A conditioning assignment with the Crunch. He played 2 games, had a game-winning goal in his first AHL contest. Slater Cuckoo and Andrei Vasilevsky, even Vlad Demesnikov and Brett Connolly. These are first-round picks that have moved up the pipeline.
And it's interesting to hear folks maybe panicking a little bit when Jonathan Drouin becomes a healthy scratch for the first time in his very young career. The message from Tampa Bay was, relax. It's part of the growing process for a kid like that. And you try and teach him those lessons early. I mean, if there's anything that you've learned from watching the Tampa Bay Lightning over the last few years, it's the influence of a guy like Steve Yzerman. He learned very early in his career that there are going to be ups and downs. There's learning curves, and Drouin is no different.
Not only Steve Yzerman, but so many of the people he's put in place. We talked about Pat Verbeek. We'll see him later. And Julian Briesblad, the assistant general manager who oversees the Crunch. Here comes Syracuse 2-on-1. Paradis couldn't get it redirected on goal. Richard trying to follow up. At the blue line, just narrowly kept in. Reaching for it. Yanked along. Paradis. Smashed against the glass. Paradis emerging with Richard and Gord. Side of the net. And it's forced behind. This line is about the most energetic the Crunch can put out there right now. And a big part of it is that wrecking ball, Phil Paradis. Richard and Gord have been together pretty much all season. But when Paradis joined this line, they got an edge. And I think players are always keeping an eye on Phil Paradis, who throws as hard a check as anybody. And Tanner Richard and Yanni Gord know that that's a good thing for them in terms of their offensive production. A couple of playmakers, but Yanni Gord has certainly found his stride in goal scoring. In front, loose puck at the side of the net, and somehow Eriksson reaches behind to cover it. Wow.
Golden opportunity there in close. The unpredictability of the boards, we talked about it.
Eriksson, oh, hustle back there. Almost just got the toe there in time. We're tied at 1. At the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, the Toyota Frozen Dome Classic. Look at Mark Big Sexy Hayes back in the crowd, a fan favorite. Oh boy, our guest, I have to interrupt his laughter here. Joe Morris, all-time Syracuse football great and Super Bowl champion, joins us here. What do you think of this, Joe? You don't see this too often in the Carrier Dome for football games.
No, you don't. That's something very unique to hockey.
Well, we do have hockey here. Joe Morris with us, who, of course, with the Syracuse football team in the very first game in this building, football against Miami University back in 1980. What do you remember about that kickoff and the touchdown return?
It was just one of those moments where you tried to make a play. And we needed a spark to get us going, and that's what that play happened for us.
Well, being at Syracuse University at that time, in Archibald Stadium, all the history, the great legacy of running backs here with Ernie Davis and Floyd Little and Jim Brown, the list goes on and on. But to then open up this building, what was the scene at Syracuse University right around 1980 when this building was constructed?
Well, it was talked about having a stadium up near Skytop. It was talked about doing something else. But when they built this dome, and we spent that year on the road, it was about one thing, coming out and showing we have the ability to be a good football team. And that year, we did everything we could. We went to a bowl for a change.
And, of course, an incredible run for the Orange and the Syracuse football tradition. We just look up at the banners here. That number 44 is, of course, retired just with all the history. But there is one guy who's atop the record books, rushing yards all time in Syracuse University history, and that's you. How does it feel to be right there? You are at the top of the list with all those other incredible running backs.
I am honored. I'm grateful. The running backs that played here were such great players, and you don't include Larry Zonk in this great group, and people seem to forget that. He was a great running back that went on to play in the NFL and did very well for the Miami Dolphins.
I'll throw you another name. How about Marty Glickman?
Yeah.
We'll go way back.
And John Mackey.
You got so many. There's a kick save, Vasilevsky with the right toe. And another try, he smothers it. Well, this building has filled up for football. It's filled up for basketball and concerts. Could you have imagined 30,000 here.
No, I couldn't imagine it, but you know, hockey's a great game, and if you see it live, it's the one thing that's so special about it, seeing it live.
We'll take a break. It's 2-1 Syracuse. We're halfway through the contest at the Toyota Frozen Dome Classic. Andrei Vasilevsky settling in. Joe Morris stays with us when we return. Back at the Carrier Dome, it's a 2-1 lead. The Syracuse Crunch over the Utica Comets, and down at ice level on the Syracuse bench, we're joined by Rob Zettler. Coach, well, your team has come from behind as they've done so often. What do you think about the first half of this game?
Well, it wasn't a little slow start, but I feel like the second period's been actually really good. We've controlled a lot of play. A little bit of grind down low is what we need to do, keep the pucks in their end.
Has the team and the staff adjusted to this atmosphere?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable atmosphere here tonight. We're having a blast. Team's having a blast. Staff has really enjoyed it. Everybody's done a great job here.
Okay, Rob Zettler, head coach of the Crunch. Thanks, and good luck the rest of the way.
Okay.
Rob Zettler joining us, 14-year NHL veteran, second year as a head coach with the Crunch, and of course was an assistant on the team when the Lightning came to town. And then John Cooper was called up to the NHL to coach the Lightning, and Rob Zettler was promoted to head coach of the Crunch, led them to their first conference championship. We continue with Joe Morris here in the booth as the Crunch lead the Comets 2-1 with 8:40 to go in the second. And Joe, we were just talking about the ice being in the building here. And to imagine, could you have imagined that there'd be hockey in this building when it first opened?
No, because, you know, when you thought about it, it was going to, you know, when it did it for basketball, that was wonderful. But to see ice hockey here, it's a chance for fans to see an arena like this. Just amazing.
Well, your Syracuse career was among the best ever, but you also turned it into a remarkable professional career. What did your time at Syracuse help you prepare for the NFL in your tremendous career? First the chance for the Crunch, banging away, but the whistle blows with Richard on the doorstep. Your time at Syracuse preparing you for your time with the Giants and then the Browns.
I had the greatest experience because I had Tom Coughlin as my position coach. He prepared me for the NFL by teaching me the game from the standpoint of learning how to read defenses, seeing things for the first time. That was very important as I got to the next level. And as I progressed, it helped me playing at Syracuse. And trust me, what I did here and what I went through prepared me for the NFL.
We've talked to some of the members of the Crunch and alumni of the Crunch who talked about coming back to this community. What's it like for you when you're back in the city?
It is a wonderful thing because people are so warm and kind and gentle to me. They remember my time here just like I played. I'm 54 years old. I feel like I'm a kid every time I come back here.
First, the chance for the Comets. Vasilevsky hugging the post makes another stop. Comets keeping it in the zone. And a wrister from Tominez was blocked out. Well, hockey is the sort of sport, Joe, where something exciting can happen in an instant. And there's a deflected shot that comes across the ice. A little bit different than football. You a fan of the game?
Yes, I am. The first game I ever seen was a Rangers-Flyers game. Eric Lindros scored a goal in 6 seconds right in front of me. And I was just so surprised. And I said, this is why this game's so fast. This is why people love it so much. I finally started to get that.
And you see that there's a physical nature in hockey. I think that translates a lot to the gridiron.
It's harder because you're on skates. That makes it even more difficult because you're on skates trying to do the same thing.
So there is respect then between
no.
football players and hockey players.
Trust me, anybody that plays hockey, I have great respect for him.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Joe. At the time that you played here at Syracuse University, hockey down the road at the War Memorial was going through quite a changeover. There were a few different teams. You had the Firebirds, and believe it or not, there's a guy playing tonight. His name is J.P. Cote. He's number 24. His dad, Alain Cote, who went on to play in the NHL with the Quebec Nordiques. He played a handful of games for the Syracuse AHL team at that time, the Firebirds, the same time that you were playing here for the SU football team. And there he is, number 24, J.P. Cote. We got to see J.P.'s dad and uncle last night in Glens Falls. And the Crunch trying to build off the momentum of the last 2 goals, including the go-ahead tally here in the second period. Yanni Gord tipping into Jonathan Marchessault's shot in the early going of this frame. It was Joel Vermeen in the latter stages of the first period who tied it up, and Alex Friesen who got the scoring going for the Comets. The first of 6 meetings this year between the Lightning and Canucks affiliates, the Crunch and the Comets, here in the Carrier Dome. Now the Carrier Dome, this is probably a one and done. Howard Dolgan, the owner of the Crunch, said that this is not going to happen again. So we're not only witnessing history first-time hockey in the Carrier Dome, but this is the only time in the Carrier Dome.
Well, it's unfortunate then because, trust me, this is a great venue for it. It's a great chance for Howard, for more people to see the game and see it live, and that's a great thing for hockey. It grows the sport, what you always try to do with any sport.
Well, you maybe talk to Howard, and maybe you could change his mind. But you go out there with Derek Coleman and Glenn Anderson, a hockey great, Pat Verbeek, a couple of Crunch fan favorites, and Zenon Konopka, John Morasti. What was your thinking when you were invited to come to the Carrier Dome for a hockey game?
First thing is, don't fall down on the ice. Don't want to embarrass yourself because you're supposed to be a football player. You're supposed to be able to handle surfaces. But hockey's a little bit different.
What'd you think of the ovation when you stepped out there?
I was overwhelmed, and it's very kind. People in Syracuse have been very kind to me. Always. They're always, when I see someone from Syracuse hat on, they're always very kind to me. And I'm thankful for that.
Well, I tell you, they announced that you were coming to this event on the radio. Howard Dolgan himself was on the radio and broke the news to the audience. Brent Axe's program on ESPN Radio in Syracuse, and the reaction immediately we saw. And it was just so exciting to have you and Derek Coleman. We mentioned the others, especially for those folks in this city that love sports. And Howard has said, with the basketball crowd that we saw, the history with football, and this event tonight, that Syracuse could be the best pound-for-pound sports city in America. What do you think?
I definitely agree. You think about the Duke game last year with SU in basketball. That's something there. You know, if you could get that, you can duplicate that more often. Syracuse is a great place, and they love to follow teams.
No doubt that this event people will remember, not just for a year or 5, but 10, 20, 30 years down the line. Folks will be talking about it just like we talked about 35 years ago that you scored that first touchdown on the first play in Carrier Dome history. Joe Morris, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. Great to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
The all-time leading rusher in Syracuse football history, Joe Morris, here in the Carrier Dome for a hockey game. It's a 2-1 Syracuse lead late in the second period. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Oh, it is a carnival atmosphere in the Carrier Dome. They had the back ice area with the Hockey Hall of Fame. Conn Smythe, Lady Byng, among other trophies, were on display. They had a wonderful exhibit celebrating Syracuse hockey history, Mike. The Blazers, the Stars. Slapshot, of course, was filmed in this city.
So much more that you can do here that you couldn't do at the fairgrounds 4 years ago. So it's not only a bigger game in the terms of attendance, but just as an event itself, it really has been a great celebration of hockey.
And this is the 5th hockey game to be played. Yesterday, a high school game, Cicero North Syracuse in Baldwinsville. There was a college club hockey game, Syracuse against West Virginia. And then today, a charity game, police and firefighters. And then a Division III hockey game, Oswego State against Utica College. And of course, this, the main attraction. I feel like I'm in a dream. I've seen football, basketball, lacrosse. I've been in these booths for so many different things. But, Mike, this is just, it's frankly unbelievable.
Well, what's great is Syracuse has been at the sort of the cutting edge of some of these things, right? I mean, 4 years ago was the first American Hockey League team to bring a game outdoors. And the great thing there was Howard and his staff did it on their own. This wasn't partnered up as part of a Winter Classic or another event. This was a Syracuse Crunch event. And I think that's what really impressed a lot of people was the ability of the Crunch to put together that first big event like that really served as a great learning tool for so many other organizations that have tried it themselves.
And the American Hockey League, as Howard Dolgan is so often of noting, it's the second best hockey league in the world. And some folks might tell you the Continental Hockey League, the KHL, which is in Russia. But here in the United States, there's no longer the rivalry between minor leagues, the IHL versus the AHL, as it might have been at one time. The American Hockey League is the #1 development league for the National Hockey League. And so many prospects have made that trek up. Just Tyler Johnson and Corey Conacher, back-to-back AHL MVPs. They both made their way up to the Tampa Bay Lightning. John Cooper, the head coach as well. And more recently, Nikita Kucherov, Vlad Nemesnikov, Vladko Gudas, Mark Barberi, Andre Palat. There's a list. I could keep on going here, folks. The American Hockey League has its players up to the NHL so often. This league is at such a high level of play. And so many guys, including Jerome Sampson, number 11 right there, has played in the NHL. Most of these guys out there have at least had a taste, unless they're in their first or second year, perhaps. Sampson, side of the net with Lynch. Kevin Lynch in his second year pro. Last year was in the ECHL. Sampson tied up. Marchessault feeds the back with Kowski, but blocked. And out of the zone with Jensen. Down the wing he goes. Jensen needles it toward the middle, but blocked away. The defensive effort from Slater Cuckoo. Kowski chases along with Alex Biega for the Comets. Final 4 minutes of the second period. The Crunch leading 2-1. Yanni Gourde's tip shot of the Jonathan Marchessault blast is the difference.
Such a different pace in this second period. The feeling out period is done. These two teams are starting to throw the weight around. They're getting a lot of nice opportunities in close, and both teams have transitioned so much better in this period to offer up the scoring opportunities. They haven't had a lot of shots on goal, but they've certainly done a nice job at just moving the puck. It looks like they've got a real good sense of how the ice is playing, and the goaltenders are doing a great job here too. I think they were maybe trying to figure out the sight lines a little bit as well. They're figuring that out now.
Comets win the draw. One-time blast waffles wide. And Dalton Smith collects for the Crunch. Yes, those are orange stripes in the Crunch uniforms. Normally just white and blue like Tampa Bay. Orange in tribute to the university. And of course the colors and the moniker. The center line is also painted orange. Battle in the neutral zone and played off the near side glass. Corrente. And the Comets regroup in their own end. Syracuse and Utica, two of the top teams in the American League so far this year. Utica in the Western Conference, #1 with 12 victories. The Crunch have 9 wins. They had won 6 of 8 until losing yesterday. They're 2 points out of first place in the East. This is the 18th game of the season for the Crunch and the Comets. They play 76 in the American Hockey League. The NHL plays 82. It had been 80 at one point, but it's now 76. But to give you a sense of the Calder Cup playoffs, which align almost in sync with the Stanley Cup playoffs. A couple of years ago, when the Crunch were in the Calder Cup finals, their last game was June 18th. The regular season ends in April. The playoffs go for 2 months if you go all the way. And the Crunch lost in Game 6 against the Red Wings affiliate, the Grand Rapids Griffins. Here's Parody into the zone. Knocked off of his stick, but we've got a penalty upcoming.
Going to be a charging call here against Utica.
Tanner Richard, in his second year, he's not only, oh, look out, Archibald and Richard shoving back and forth. No doubt Archibald initiating that. Tanner Richard did not shy away. Let's take a look where it started. Richard going after the puck in the corner, and there goes Dustin Jeffrey. Leading with the shoulder. That's a high hit.
And you know what? Jeffrey's been mixing up a lot in this period. He's trying to get something going here. The 2-1 game, it's a close one. He's clearly trying to spark his guys just a little bit here to try and get that bench going. And a lot of guys will tell you there's no better way to do it than to try and get somebody to maybe drop the gloves. And he's trying to incite something there. Is Jeffrey, who gets 2 minutes for charging.
Jeffrey for charging. And Archibald had the follow-up with Richard. Tanner has dropped the gloves 4 times this year. He was an assist wizard in junior hockey, and since he's come to the American League, he's found an edge to his game, but he's also been putting up some points this year, too. He's found a real click with Yanni Gourde, and he's had a few multi-point performances this year. Richard has 9 points in 17 games. Battle for it on the sidewall. And they're continuing to dig in the Crunch defensive zone. Syracuse with a power play goal earlier. Marchessault brings it out to center. Crunch with Marchessault up front. Joel Vermeen. And now on the left wing side, here's Gourde. To the middle. Vermeen kicked aside. Joel Vermeen swings it to the back. Nesterov, who had an assist earlier. Vermeen and Gourde in close quarters. Back up top. One-time blast. Stick one. That was chest high. Right through the crease. Off the stick at the blue line, and the Crunch give chase. Cody Kulik, impressive skating maneuver. Needs some help from Marchessault. flings it across. The Crunch power play unit is changing. Really trying to keep it in the zone. And the Comets will clear it all the way down. Final minute of the second period. Syracuse leading 2-1. Crunch get it deep once more. Sampson with Richard helping it to the point. Cuckoo keeps. Twisted further by Kunit. Richard tries to dangle away from trouble. To the circle. Now along the goal line. Kunit looks over the options. Banks it up top for Cuckoo. The rookie defenseman drops it off for Richard. A second-year pro. His shot right through the net mouth. And across to the near boards. Final 25 seconds with the Crunch power play down to 7. The Comets come out of the zone as their penalty kill runs down. Up to the blue line, a little shimmy shake from O'Reilly, who kills off, engaged by Ikonen. And it bounds out to the neutral zone. And the Crunch cannot convert. And the final seconds tick off here in the second period of the Toyota Frozen Dome Classic. And after 40 minutes of play, the Syracuse Crunch have a lead. 2-1. The Crunch with Yanni Gourde, the go-ahead marker. The Crunch on top. And one of the bigger games in American League history. The Crunch want those bragging rights. Stay tuned. Our second intermission report is coming up. Moments from starting the third period in the Carrier Dome. The Toyota Frozen Dome Classic with the Crunch leading the Comets 2-1. Back high above ringside, Dan Duva, joined by Pat Verbeek, of course, an NHL veteran for 20 years, and now he's part of the Tampa Bay Lightning organization, assistant general manager to Steve Yzerman. We had someone earlier tonight remark on the broadcast, hey, it's Steve Yzerman bringing all the talent down to Tampa Bay, and wow, look what's happened. Steve has done so much. But Pat, on the inside, what has been the transformation with the Lightning with the success that we're seeing in the last year?
Well, I think it really boils down to all our amateur scouts. They've done a phenomenal job drafting good players. We've been able to get some really good young players, and they've really progressed faster than we thought they would, and they're really contributing up top now.
And underway here in the third period, Pat Verbeek joins us from high above ringside. And Pat, we look out here tonight, and the partnership that is now a couple years old between the Syracuse Crunch and the Tampa Bay Lightning. You look out and you see 30,000 people for a hockey game in an arena that was built for football and basketball. What are your impressions of this?
Well, I said to Howard, and I said to Vance, who's the CFO here, I said phenomenal job, because I mean there's 30,000 plus here, and it's it's actually a real intimate for 30,000. It's a real intimate setting, and I'm really impressed with how it's set up.
The partnership between the Lightning and the Crunch. How has that relationship unfolded between Tampa Bay and the Crunch, knowing the importance of developing Lightning prospects here in the American League?
Well, I think it's been great. Both sides understand that at the end of the day, we're here to develop players for the NHL, and I think that Howard, the owners really understood that, but we've been able to give him, good players and a good team, so he's been happy from that aspect.
No question about it. Of course, an Eastern Conference championship in 2013, and so far, the Crunch just a couple points out of first place in the Eastern Conference. Pat Verbeek is our guest, of course, the NHL great, and now with the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. Last year, Pat, we talked about Cedric Paquette, and just as a rookie, and all the great things that he did. He got his call up at the end of the season. And earlier this year, Cedric told me, I would have been happy to get to the NHL in 3 years. That was the plan. But look what he's done. What, in your eyes, has he done so well to get that opportunity?
Well, I think obviously it helps when you score, and it kind of, it kind of helps when you're a hot hand. And he's been a hot hand, but he does a lot of good things. I mean, he's a hard player to play against. He plays with a good intensity each and every night, and he shows up. And I think, as a coach, that's what you want. You want players who are reliable each and every night, and they're going to give their best, and he's one of those types of players.
Well, John Cooper is the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, has been in Syracuse, the American League. He has certainly come up similar to the players, up through the ranks, juniors, pro hockey, and now in the NHL. Steve Yzerman, yourself, Julian Brisebois, John Cooper, Rob Zettler, and the entire staff. What is the message? What is the mentality that you try to impart on your players?
Well, I think for us, what's really important is character, and the second thing behind that is work ethic, and that extends to the gym. And it's been important, especially for all our young guys, to train real hard because at the end of the day, there's a lot of talented players, but unless you're strong enough and you're able to compete with the bigger bodies, some of the guys that are playing now, it's hard to be able to make the NHL. So I really stressed really physical strength in the off ice.
Alexander Grenier in the box for a couple of minutes. Crunch back on the power play. Mike Ross checks in. Mike with chatting with Pat Verbeek here in the booth. No, we're not getting Mike at the moment, but Pat, on the first 40 minutes of tonight's game, what are you thinking?
Well, I think it's been a pretty evenly played game. Both goaltenders have made good saves, and you know, I think that for us, for Syracuse in the first period, I thought they passed up some good opportunities to shoot the puck, and they started to shoot the puck more in the second period and got a couple goals because of it.
Take two with Mike.
All right, there we go. We are back. Pat, I'm just wondering, you know, from my vantage point, guys coming up from the American Hockey League to the National League seem to be going through a lot more of a seamless transition. Guys can fit into an NHL lineup a lot quicker, a lot easier than maybe 25, 30 years ago. Do you see that same thing?
Well, at the end, I think when you start to evaluate it, I think a lot of the young kids can skate now versus 25 years ago there was a big discrepancy in the levels of skating ability. But now guys that are making the jump to the NHL can all skate. It really boils down to a lot of experience and I would say strength. Guys are weighing a little more in the NHL now than they ever used to weigh. I would say on average 20 pounds heavier. So if the guy's able to compete from a strength point and skating point, it can be a little easier.
And in that same interest, do you try and communicate with the American League coach to try and get the systems sort of in sync between the NHL and the AHL to make that transition a little easier?
Well, our head coach, John Cooper, and Rob Zettler, they do communicate. We like our players to be mostly on the same page. We have little variances here and there, but mostly our systems within, are pretty similar. And so when they come up, it's actually a pretty easy transition for them. There's not going to be too much that's different from up top.
As you saw on your screen moments ago, the attendance has been announced for the Toyota Frozen Dome Classic, and it has indeed smashed every record on the books, and I think exceeded expectations. 30,715. And as you know, first a great chance for the Crunch, continuing the power play here for another 7 seconds. Syracuse basketball in this configuration has exceeded 30,000 5 times. Most recently against the Duke Blue Devils in February, setting the record at over 35,000. Putting Kunitz speeds into the side of the net, and it's sealed up at the side of the cage by Eriksson. 30,715. It is just off the charts. Pat, hockey, especially in the state of New York, and I know you know New York quite a bit because of your playing career. There are all the AHL teams, a few NHL teams, even an ECHL team. Hockey in New York seems to be as strong as ever. No, it's great. I'm amazed. I mean, for Howard, I mean, this is like 6 home games for sure. So, I mean, this is a nice boost for him. So it's good for him. He's done a wonderful job. And yeah, for hockey, I mean, it's great. I'm glad the weather cooperated. There's always a worry, especially the way things went on in Buffalo, that Syracuse isn't. Well, it's known for getting a little bit of snow itself. So, and the weather held up. That's why they built the dome here 35 years ago, and it's a wise thing they did. But imagine 35 years, and this is the first pro hockey game. Back to 5-on-5. The puck deflects into the crowd. You don't see that too often in a normal venue, but this has just been spectacular. Well, Pat, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. I know that this is only a regular season game, but it seems that the players, the staff, and management have so much appreciated this opportunity.
No, it's been great, and I'm glad I got to be a part of it and see it and participate in it. So it's been a great pleasure for me as well.
Pat Verbeek, Assistant General Manager for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and of course the Stanley Cup champion, 20-year NHL veteran. Pat, thanks so much. Okay, we continue on here in the Carrier Dome. Dan Duva along with Mike Ross. Thanks for joining us on this incredibly special night. The 22nd of November, 2014 will be in the record books. And Yanni Gourde trying to make sure his name is right at the top. Yanni Gourde, who has the go-ahead goal tonight, looking for his second of the contest. Syracuse has turned the tables after Utica had a hot start, Mike. It seems that it's been a lot of momentum on the Crunch side since then.
It sure has, and it's all about the way they've moved the puck to showing a lot more confidence than they did early on. But you got to mention the goaltending, and they fed off some pretty acrobatic saves at their end, and they've managed to put a lot of shots on goal at the other end as well. So that first period may have been sort of tilted into the Syracuse crunch zone, but they've done a real nice job at keeping the pressure on Utica, and you can see the frustration building right now within that Comets lineup.
Remember, the Comets gave up 7 goals to Rochester yesterday. Most goals they'd allowed all season. You know, it's not hard to believe. 7 is a ton of goals at this level. The Crunch, in terms of offensive support, until last night had been averaging 4 goals per game in the month of November. They only had 1 last night. It belonged to Luke Witkowski. Syracuse losing to the Adirondack Flames, as that one comes right into the hip of Vasilevsky, and he holds on. Well, I heard some things from Pat Verbeek and from Glenn Anderson, from David Andrews about the American Hockey League and how its position in the sport has risen. In your experience, is the American Hockey League as popular now as it's been?
Oh, absolutely. And it's because of solid ownership. And it's also, I mean, you mentioned the name David Andrews, great leadership there at the head of the American Hockey League. They've done a nice job and put a lot of emphasis on trying to make sure that they have 30 different affiliations, 30 different teams. That plays a big part in it too. And you're trying to develop a bit of a fan base. Even though your fans know it's a developmental team, when you're having a split squad and you're split between, say, Buffalo and Florida the way they were in Rochester for a while, it's hard to build up those loyalties and that fan base and that support for the NHL team.
Rob Zettler's talked about how important rivalries are, because in the NHL there sure as heck of rivalries. Might as well get them going here in the American League. And, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Vancouver Canucks might not be rivals in the NHL. There are plenty of other places where the AHL parent clubs mirror the rivalry in this league. Syracuse right now trying to extend its lead. It's a 2-1 edge for the Crunch. The Comets took the lead early on, 3 minutes and 12 seconds in. Alex Friesen got his 2nd of the year. Kennens and Jensen had the assist. The Crunch tied it up at the 16-minute mark of the first period. Joel Vermeen with his 5th. Tanner Richard had the lone assist. Even though Jonathan Marchessault was right there on the doorstep, Vermeen was the goal scorer. The Crunch took the lead early in the 2nd. 1 second after a power play expired, it was Yanni Gourde with his 8th of the season. Jonathan Marchessault, Nikita Nesterov had the assist. That's where we stand, 2-1 in favor of the Crunch in front of 30,715. And Vasilevsky standing up right at the edge of the crease, and the crowd loves that effort.
Did a real nice job there at controlling the rebound as well and following it with his eyes. Been a little bit difficult at times tonight. Utica's done a pretty decent job sometimes putting a little bit of traffic in front of Vasilevsky. He does a nice job there following through on the puck.
Puck sails out of play and behind the Utica net. Joachim Eriksson, who played in all 4 games against the Crunch last year. The season was essentially split 1 extra point for the Comets, but the Crunch had the last laugh with a 6-5 overtime win on April the 5th. Vasilevsky stealing the show between the pipes so far in this one. It's the Crunch 2 and the Comets 1 in the Carrier Dome. The Utica Comets playing in their 2nd season. Well, they've been some other teams over the years, going all the way back to before it was even the American Hockey League. And you see Syracuse Warriors. Imagine that. The Utica Comets franchise at one time called the War Memorial Home. Really incredible how the city-to-city movement. And the Syracuse Crunch actually were, for 2 years, in Hamilton, Ontario. And Howard Hogan scooped up that franchise, moved it to Syracuse in 1994. Now there are the Hamilton Bulldogs, AHL affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens. There are indeed 30 American League teams affiliated with all 30 NHL teams. The Crunch in their history have been affiliated with Tampa Bay. A couple years with the Anaheim Ducks, the Columbus Blue Jackets for 10 years, but the original affiliate was the Vancouver Canucks.
And question now, will there be 32 affiliates in the next couple of years in the American Hockey League if the NHL does indeed expand the way so many of us expect?
Oh, look out. After a Vasilevsky save, pushing and shoving, it's Joel Vermeen getting into it at the side of the net. Jensen right on top of him. Vermeer not known for the physicality, but he's willing to stand in there. Cody Kunik is there as well. Let's see one more time how that came to be.
It's all about protecting your goaltender. Lost sight of the puck there. By the time he found it, Utica's buzzing around, trying to find anything that they can do to get under the skin right now of the Syracuse Crunch. Down by a goal, you're trying everything you can to get that advantage. Maybe draw that extra penalty. Maybe take somebody off the ice if you can.
No penalties from that. Rob Zettler and Stacey Roos look on. Stacey Roos, the Tampa Bay Lightning Director of Player Development, but while he's with the Crunch, he serves as an assistant coach, and we see him on the bench. Viega got it across, and that one blocked down between the circles. Dalton Smith forces it out. He was tripped up. No penalty. Smith, Angelides, and now Smith again into the zone in the circle. He was double-teamed. Ikonen slows it up. Kuka was shot. Stick down in front. And Archibald plays it up the wall. Comets come out to center, trying to knock this game up with only under 12 to play. Shot from the near wing, flutters across the net mouth and into the corner. Kuku on defense with Witkowski. Angelides stop. Oh, a great stop. Vasilevsky in front. And here comes Smith out to center. Well, not only is this a massive crowd, it's a hockey astute crowd. At the War Memorial, sometimes the loudest cheers are penalty kills, block shots, etc. And across Central New York, no doubt, whether it's college or pro, even high school hockey or junior hockey, fans in this region, they know the sport. All those little things, we're hearing as big a crowd cheer for that as anything else.
Just hanging out in Syracuse. I came in last night, and everywhere I went, I noticed hockey. It didn't matter if it was Utica, whether it was Syracuse, Oswego State, Utica College, NHL jerseys. There was hockey everywhere I've been so far in the last day and a half here in Syracuse. A lot of it, of course, anticipating this game tonight, but certainly part of the fabric of this region.
Now this, the feature attraction of what has been 5 games. Cicero North Syracuse High School against Baldwinsville, the Baldwinsville Bees. That was yesterday, the first game ever. Meanwhile, a takeaway at center for Paradis, sending it into the zone. Yanni Gord scoots to it. Checked in the corner. After that one last night, Syracuse University men's club team played West Virginia. Today, a charity game, police and firefighters doing battle. And then Division III contest between SUNY Oswego, Oswego State, and the Utica College Club. So this is, of course, the feature attraction, and that's why there are 30,000 people here. But it wouldn't quite be the same without all of those other events, the Hall of Fame exhibit, the special guests, and everything that's made this night so special.
It really has been a sort of a hockey festival, if you will, and that it's just the way you need to progress from the outdoor game to something like this. You can't just put on another event. You've got to give it its own twist. You got to make it that much more special. And the Syracuse Crunch have done a great job with that, whether it's the Fan Fest ahead of the game, whether it was the other games involved, and a lot of, obviously, the special guests here, the dignitaries that have been here tonight.
Side of the net, Marchessault, hoping for Sampson, didn't connect. Out of the point, J.P. Cote. Cote, the crafty veteran in his 12th year as a pro from Quebec City. Battle for it in the trapezoid. Lynch, Marchessault, and now Sampson emerging. Sampson left it down the wall, and it's out to center. Corrente back to defend. Knocks down a loose puck. Out to center. Scooped up. Marchessault dips down the wall with Corrente alongside. Threw it across the net mouth. Melody Hall. Witkowski steps up. Played the puck as he was spun around. Ikonen goes to it alongside Angelides. The Crunch captain emerges down toward the corner. No one filling in at the point. Blue just retrieves in his own end. Now we've got about 10 minutes to go in this one, at least regulation. Worth noting that should this game find its way to an extra period, the rules in the American Hockey League this year are different for overtime than they have been in the past. Puck goes out of play on the far side. We'll tell you more about those overtime rules if the situation presents itself, but first we need to step aside. 30,715 in the Carrier Dome. Syracuse University's iconic facility hosting hockey for the first time, and the Crunch lead it 2-1. The Crunch on top 2-1, but a penalty against the Comets will give Syracuse another power play. And Henrik Tammernes, the Swede, will sit for a couple of minutes. And another man advantage for the Crunch, who have been outshot 23-19 tonight. And here's a chance with Nesterov blasting in a glove save. Eriksson watching that one through traffic. One more look at Nikita Nesterov blasting from the center point.
Important for Syracuse at this point. They're putting as many pucks on net as they can. Take advantage of the power play opportunities. They've been
another try between. Yeah, that was blocked away. Delay of game the call against the Comets, leading to this Syracuse power play. Though they technically have not scored on the man advantage tonight, they scored a goal just a second after a power play ended. This one deflects into the screen. Jonathan Marchessault has been a top power play performer in every jersey he's played. This year with the Crunch, coming over in late last season from the Springfield Falcons. Crunch had played the Falcons the year before in the playoffs, swept Springfield in that second round, but the big gun to watch for was Blue Jackets prospect Jonathan Marchessault. And at that point, you figure Julian Brisebois, the Tampa Bay management, kept an eye on him. Dalton Smith also came over in that trade in exchange for Dana Tyrell and Matt Taormino. Marchessault, a Crunch leading scorer, but he's got a few guys on his heels. Minute 35 on the Crunch power play. And in the neutral zone they control. Kuku is paired defensively with Dylan Blugis. Not only rookies, but also roommates. 20 years old, 6'3" for both of them. Throw in Jake Dotson to that mix. All of those attributes I just mentioned still apply. Roommates, 6'3", 20 years old. Rookies. Another puck out of play. And we'll try it again. There's Blugis, who grew up just a couple hours from Syracuse, outside of Buffalo. And we certainly anticipate the number of people who've come to this one tonight, not only from Central New York, but from a few hours in every direction, as we saw at the Moravito Outdoor Classic in 2010. A hockey celebration in the Carrier Dome. A special night for the American League and this region. A 2-1 Crunch lead. Those two standings points are on the line. And 2 points tonight for the Crunch. Conceivably would tie them for first place. Depends on what happens around the league tonight. But coming into this game, 2 points out of first in the Eastern Conference. Utica is tops in the West. Here's Marchessault. Across to the right. It skips through Yanni Gore. Back up top, Nesterov. Marchessault waiting. Nesterov again. Settles. Having trouble settling these passes, it seems. Now some space in front. Gord couldn't pull the trigger after the feed from Joel Vermeen. Gord diving to slow the breakout for the Comets, and the clearing effort ultimately does come down. And the wave, you see, in the foreground. Final 15 seconds of the Crunch power play. The buzz continues from the Carrier Dome faithful. Crunch get it deep. Ikonen and Paradio up front. Comets get it back out to the neutral zone, and that'll just about do it for the PK. Tollander is out of the box. Back to 5-aside. Witkowski on the breakout. Stuck in the skates. Linesman was right there. Shinkaruk, who got it down. And Witkowski has to double back. On this stage of the game, Mike, I wonder if desperation becomes part of the contest for Utica, as that one bounces right through. With Dustin Jeffrey sailing it out to the point. Earhart, Viega, knocked down between the circles, guided to safety by Witkowski. Stick in the face. Oh, there was no call. Witkowski appeared to have a stick come right up toward his chin. He's knocked down in behind the net. Shinkaruk, side of the cage, and the battle continues. Parente around for Ikonen.
Really noticing the puck bouncing a lot late in the game. We heard players talk about it early on, that the ice felt like it was about as good as it was going to get in this situation, but that it was still a little soft. It was hard to push off of and get some speed. But you're noticing now, even in transition, they're having trouble completing passes, taking passes. Great opportunity and close there.
With the right pad. getting just enough. And Rob Zettler sensing a moment of weakness, wanting a timeout. This could be a turning point of the game. Utica picking up some momentum here.
And Vasilevsky, here's something fans may not know. Both goaltenders for Syracuse had new masks done up for this game. But Vasilevsky went one step further, and he's using new gear, new pads, blocker, trapper. For a goaltender to come into this situation with new equipment, trying to break it in through the week, and over a little bit of time, you'll wonder if that maybe contributed to a certain level of discomfort early on in this game. He's not showing it now. He's certainly looking comfortable, but you wonder about that influence early on in the game.
I remember talking to Kristers Godlewski's, the Crunch backup tonight, who last year in his first pro season became the first player to goaltend in the ECHL, AHL, NHL, and Olympics in the same season. He was the goalie for Team Latvia and had over 55 saves against Team Canada, even in a losing effort. Folks figured Canada would win the game 10-0. They ended up winning it 2-1, and Godlewski's became a national hero. He had a special mask for the Olympics, different than his Syracuse Crunch mask, in paint job only. In other words, he had two identical masks made, and the paint job was different, one for the Olympics and one for the Crunch. But he said, you know, no doubt you have to get used to those helmets, even if they're the exact same make. Shot from the point, out pad save, Vasilevsky. With traffic in front, he got the right leg out there.
They're doing a great job tying up the Utica forwards and allowing Vasilevsky to see the puck, but also to see the rebounds that he's giving up here, and not allowing Utica a chance to get onto those rebounds and create some scoring opportunities.
Vasilevsky, a Russian, has played in the KHL for the last couple of years. Even after getting drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning, first round, 19th overall in 2012. He's only 20 years old, playing in the KHL, 18, 19 years of age. But his dream was to be here in North America and reach the NHL, and he's getting closer and closer with the first few weeks of North American pro experience under his belt. So far, he's got the lead, and he has made 23 saves. 2-1 Crunch. Someone's having a good time tonight, no matter where she's sitting. And watching from high above is so many great sight lines all around. Mike, this has been just such a fun night. We've talked to so many folks. What stands out to you with everything that's happened, the hockey, the atmosphere here at the Carrier Dome?
Honestly, it's the number of people that wanted to be here. I mean, talk to the folks down at the ticket office who kept the ticket sales going and going because the demand was there, and they want to be a part of the history. They want to be a part of this event, and I think it speaks to how much this community is appreciated what Howard Dolgan has done, along with the Syracuse Crunch, for hockey in this town.
Well, Syracuse Crunch right now have the lead, and a lot of folks have said, you know what, it's wonderful to put this show on, but we also want to show that Syracuse can get back to its winning ways of 2013. Last year, the Crunch missed the playoffs. After having its best season in franchise history, to take that much of a step back, you wonder how much that hurts the perception. But here they are, coming into this game, fourth in the Eastern Conference, only 2 points out of first place, going up against the #1 team in the league, the Utica Comets, and this is the first of 6 rivalry matchups this year. So look forward to them all.
And what's going to be really interesting is when these two teams get together again next week. I mean, what is it, 5 days from now?
It's Wednesday.
They're going to be back together again
in Utica.
And let's see, you know, how much of the emotion from this game carries over to the next game between these two. But really, there's no rhyme or reason between success at the National Hockey League level and the American Hockey League level. It's something that's been rather interesting to watch over the last several years. The Stanley Cup championship team does not necessarily have a great team when it comes to the American Hockey League, and vice versa. So you really have to appreciate it when it comes along.
And just in 2013, Tampa Bay Lightning did not make the playoffs. They sent down a couple of guys, including Radko Gudas and Tyler Johnson. Richard Paddock actually was the most notable at the time, the way he was ascending offensively. But those guys had been with the Crunch most of the season. There was the lockout that year. Of more note was the Grand Rapids Griffins, the team that ultimately won the Calder Cup. They were knocked out in the second round, and when they were, well, they sent down Tatar and DeKaiser and Nyquist, etc. And those are the guys that really helped the Red Wings AHL team capture the Calder Cup. Grand Rapids has been one of the stronger teams out in the Western Conference. Believe it or not, Utica is in the Western Conference too. There are 30 teams in the American League. They're just heavily concentrated in the Northeast. In the state of New York alone, the Rochester Americans, the Syracuse Comets, the Binghamton Senators, the Utica Comets, the Albany Devils, and the Albany Flames. There have never been more AHL teams in the state of New York.
And great for the folks in Adirondack to keep that franchise or keep hockey there. Did not fly out in Abbotsford. It was an interesting experiment, but it ultimately did not work. Travel costs, just the cost of doing business didn't work out. Great to see that there's going to be hockey in Adirondack for years to come.
And now 7 straight wins for the Flames, including the one against the Crunch last night. They had over 3,000 for the game yesterday at Glens Falls Civic Center. What a great little village. The history there, Peter Mahovlich playing for the Adirondack Red Wings. Stacey Roost, who we mentioned earlier, started his career with the Adirondack Red Wings. He had the Adirondack Phantoms for 5 years, formerly of Philadelphia. They played in Glens Falls for 5 years, built a new facility in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So the Flyers affiliate is right up the road. So you have now 7 teams in a 3-hour radius from Syracuse. That'll make the travel a lot easier, and that means the Tampa Bay Lightning prospects spend more time on the ice developing and less time traveling, sleeping on a bus. Also makes the broadcasting happen. Crunch trying to add to the lead, and Erickson getting just enough. That could have been his best stop of the night right there, and he's had a few good ones. Let's take another look at it.
Great opportunity in front here for a redirection. Parody with a chance of great hand-eye coordination, but you got to tip your hat to Erickson, managing to keep his eyes on that even after the deflection.
Well, Syracuse still trailing in shots on goal. The Crunch have been so good, with the exception of last night when they allowed 34. It had been 22, 22, 20 shots against. I mean, that's just terrific. Tonight they've allowed 26. They've managed 22 themselves. And it's a 2-1 lead for Syracuse. Comets try to get that tying goal. But the Crunch have been staunch on defense, and Matt Corrente flings it down. Smith tries to catch up to it. Out there with Ikonen and Angelidis. The disciplined Crunch in the defensive zone, trying to deny any further opportunity. Entering the final 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Fluttering puck, cocks around in front. Where is it? It squirts to the corner. Up the wall it comes. Ikonen can't clear it. Bounces through Corrente. Quick shot, a save. Another try lifted. Over to the side of the net. Vasilevsky with another big stop for the Crunch. And Smith can settle it down out through the neutral zone. 2 minutes to go in regulation. The Crunch holding on to a 2-1 lead. No scoring here in the third frame. Utica had a 1-0 lead in the first. The Crunch tied it up later in the period. Syracuse took the go-ahead goal in the second frame in the first minute. Now we've gone, first a redirect almost from Marchessault at the left post. We've gone almost 40 minutes here without a goal being scored. To the corner it goes. In behind the Utica net, Vermeer. He was rubbed out of the play. Marchessault couldn't get there. Lynch needing some help at the point. It was kept momentarily. Now Marchessault turns and shoots, but it's knocked aside. Out of the zone. Final minute 15 of the third, and the Crunch at the very least successful in this puck possession game. Richard bounces one wide left. And Tanner Richard with an assist tonight. Perhaps one of the players of the game. Out for Paradis. Shooting! Bouncing wide. Richard with an assist. Here he's got the puck in the circle. In front for Gord, but off his skates. Final 40 seconds of the Toyota Frozen Dome Classic in the Carrier Dome. 30,715 watching the Syracuse Crunch of the Utica Comets. The first pro hockey game in this iconic venue's history. And the crowd coming alive in the final half minute. The goalie to the bench. Erickson off for an extra attacker. And it's sealed up at the side of the Syracuse cage. I mentioned Tanner Richard, Mike, and he's someone, he's got an assist tonight, but he's been all over the place, involved in that physical play. He's been critical in the face-offs, and he is feisty when he needs to be. He's a second-year pro and someone who is part of the group that's coming into that second wave. So many of those first-wave players, Nemesnikov, Kucherov, have made their way to the NHL, but he's perhaps in that second wave, and someone who put up great numbers in junior hockey.
And besides Vasilevsky tonight, I mean, a few names pop into my mind. Gord, Parody, and Richard. It seems that I've heard you say those names a little bit more than anybody else. They've been good energy guys. They've been on the puck, but they've also been pretty decent defensively. When you're seeing a guy like Yanni Gord diving ahead to knock pucks out of their zone and take away opportunities for the Utica Comets to break out of their zone and maybe create opportunities for themselves, you know that guys are fully engaged. They're playing both ends. They're playing the defensive side of the puck as well as the offensive, and that's what you need in a tight game like this one.
And you know, in the Lightning organization, Steve Yzerman at the helm, Rob Zettler, the head coach, Trent Cull, a defenseman in his playing days. There's definitely a premium on that side of the game, and not only for defensemen. It really is a two-way game. That's something that they've had to teach players like Nikita Kucherov. Okay, here we go. Final seconds. Centering try, broken up in front. Another try, just missed. It goes to the corner. 7 seconds to go. At the wall, Cote with Angelidis. The Crunch gets standing up, knocking it down. Side of the net. It's over. Syracuse wins. The final score. The Crunch 2, the Comets 1, the Toyota Frozen Dome Classic, the Carrier Dome, and hockey in New York belong to Syracuse. The goals tonight, Joel Vermeen his 5th, Yanni Gord his 8th, Richard Marchessault and Nesterov the assist, Andrei Vasilevsky comes up with the victory, and he helps the Crunch defeat Utica in a major contest in Central New York.
And they're going to line up, and they're going to go with a great tradition in the game of hockey that you just don't see in other sports, and that's the handshake line. After a special game like this one, why not?
Well said, Mike. I think, as we discussed earlier with someone like John Morastes and Konopka, the respect in the sport. You can, in one moment, be trying to crush the other guy, beat him with a hard slap shot, but in another moment, like this, shake hands. And not just shaking hands for show, but genuinely greeting your fellow colleagues, even though they're wearing a different sweater. Well, the 30,715 begin to file out of the Carrier Dome. Several hundred standing behind the benches. Rob Zettler has won the day. The first man to skate on the ice at the Carrier Dome. He had that honor at practice on Thursday. How proud he was. And his first job as a head coach at any level here with Syracuse. He led the Crunch to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years ago. And now another major milestone in Syracuse tonight at the Carrier Dome. The Crunch salute the 30,715 tonight in the Carrier Dome. History made, records broken, and 2 points for the Crunch. A 2-1 final, defeating the Utica Comets.